Hi, welcome back. I'm inside. It has actually stopped raining, so I might go outside in a minute. Well, I am going to go outside in a minute because I'm going to give you some demos of what I'm going to show you now. But before I give you the demos, I'm going to talk a little bit about our big red box. Now, our big red box contains danger explosives. Yes, it contains explosives. Mrs. Breaker does not approve. That's why it's in the big red box. Okay. Now, quite a few people asked me before, when we watched the videos before, I talked about in the tank that we were going to use blank rounds, that we weren't going to use like audio or flashes. We were actually going to use blank rounds. I talked about safety and stuff like that. And it is actually kind of really important. You got to not forget that you actually are dealing with explosives. Now, one of the questions somebody asked is, do you need a license to use explosives? Yeah, you do. It's that simple. Yeah, you do. Same way you need a license to use firearms. However, there are certain things that are exempt from that. But whatever you do, you need to use common sense. So it really is that simple. Use common sense. So whether you're firing a blank round from a tank, a model tank, or a replica firearm, you don't point it at people. You make sure you're in an environment that is safe. You treat the ordnance, which is the explosives, in the correct way. You put it in the correct containers. You make sure it's out of the way of other people. You don't give children access to it. It's just all common sense. That's all it really is. And just be aware that it's an explosive, so treat it with a respect. Anyway, what's in the box? Well, I've got lots of things in the box, so I'm going to start off with these. These are really good fun. Now, these are used, a lot of this stuff is used in a game called Airsoft. And Airsoft is basically where a group of people run around the woods with toy guns firing BBs at each other, which is actually so much fun. It's great. It's really cool. But there are times that you want to simulate explosions or smoke or things like that. And then basically we can do that with these things. And this is an Airsoft grenade. So the idea with this is that we can put objects in here and the way we use them is we can put powder and things like that in them, and then they're filled with gas. Once they're charged, they can be set in the ground. They produce a plume of powder that looks like an explosion. Really, really cool. The majority of things I want to show you are things like these. Now, these are Airsoft grenades. Now, they look kind of particularly vicious, but they're very, very simple, and they all do exactly the same thing. This is a timer grenade. That simply means that once you pull the pin out, it goes for 30 seconds and it triggers. This one has got a wobbly bit at the top, which means you've got to throw it on the ground. When it hits the ground, it triggers the thing. But they all do the same thing. And here's a trip mine one, which again does exactly the same thing. They all do the same. You put the blank round in the ends, and then basically what happens, take this one off, and you can see here in the camera, once the spring, and they're all exactly the same, a spring triggers and it lets a firing pin go. And that firing pin hits the bottom of the blank round, and the blank round goes bang. And that is it. That is the firing systems. They come, as I said, in all different sizes, but you know, they all do exactly the same thing. Now, on our tank, as I showed you before, we use a modified version of these because these things you see them get on Amazon, on eBay, places like that. They don't work. They're absolutely rubbish. You can tell because, as I said before, the ratings of these things are usually 1 star or less. So you do need to do a significant amount of modification to get these things to work. We have, for the tank, they work. We use these in the breech to fire the blank rounds. Now the fun bit, the rounds themselves. Now, as I said, they're all explosives. So you have to treat them like explosives. Now, these are the smallest ones that we use. These are, I'll open it up and you can actually see, look, it looks quite pretty actually. These are called 209 rounds. Now, what I'll do is put that back in there because I've already taken one out here somewhere. There it is. And you can see it is tiny. And this little round is really, really simple. It's a little percussion cap on the end, and it's filled with black powder. When you hit the end of it, as I showed you with the other thing, it goes bang. Now, what sort of bang does it make? Now, I did think about getting a sound meter out and measuring them all, but as you'll understand in a little bit, that's not going to help you at all. I would say that one of these, you could fire it inside. So obviously you've got to be aware that you've still got to be pointing it in the right direction and whatever. but it would make enough of a bang to have enough impact inside and the smoke coming out. It would look quite cool. It wouldn't be too loud, but it also wouldn't be too quiet. So they're quite useful. Also, they're very, very cheap. You know, you get boxes of 100 of those for virtually next to nothing. If you wanted more of a bang, you could go up to this sort of size, and you can see here, I don't know whether I can show you this by doing, if I put them together like that, it shows you the comparative size. It's quite hard on the camera. I'll hold them still.
It's not focusing.
And you see here.
Move it.
Yeah. Sorry, we're trying to get the camera to focus here. There we go. Now you can see clearly that's going to make, this is a 380 round. That's going to make a bigger bang than that one. Well, why? Because it's got more black powder in it. It's that simple. Little percussion cap on the end is exactly the same as that one. The grenade hits the end of it and then triggers it. But there's more powder in there, so the bang is going to be bigger. It's kind of common sense. We then go up again. So this, I would say, probably a bit too loud to go inside. This is used very, very commonly in airsoft, where you might be out in a forest and there's enough of a bang so the opposing members of the team know that a bang's gone off and, strictly speaking, you know, they've been blown up by a grenade. They put their hands up and they walk to the respawn point. You know, it's got a good sound to it. We then go up again, and as you can see, this is a 12G, and as you can see, basically a lot bigger. So this is basically similar. I'm going to move it back up there to a shotgun cartridge. Now here is a shotgun cartridge. This isn't a real one. This is an airsoft one. But you can basically see they're kind of stubby versions of a proper shotgun cartridge. So the way that would work would be that you've got the percussion cap, you've got the black powder in here, and then this top bit would be filled with the shot or the bullet. Clearly there's no bullet. It's just the shot. It's just the powder. And it's that powder that makes the bang. Again, percussion cap on the end, exactly the same as that one. Strikes the end of it, and it sends the charge off. Now you can see why there wouldn't be much point in getting a sound decibel meter out to measure each of them, telling you that that's the loudest. Well, it's obviously going to be the loudest because it's got the most black powder in it. So it's a pointless exercise. That is just way too loud to be inside. You would not fire this inside. It would hurt your ears. Even outside, I would say within 2 to 3 meters of the object this is being fired from is too loud. You know, there's a sense that you want to walk away, you want to step back from it, but it produces an enormous amount of smoke. So I'll give you an example, and you'll see the examples when we fire them. On the Dana 1/6 scale, when you see the full-size ones fire a gun, there's loads of smoke and the blast comes out from the real thing. When you fire one of these on a 1/6 scale, it looks like the real thing. Whereas that doesn't look like the real thing. And that looks like you're firing a cap gun. Right? These come in different guises, these ones, actually. So these, I've got some more here. We've got different versions of these. So you can see here that these are the same. They're both 380. But you can see there's slightly different ends on them. Now, this one here produces much more black smoke, black soot. And it looks quite good when it's fired out of one of the models. Whereas this one is very clean. Makes a big bang, but there's hardly any smoke from it. It's almost smokeless. So you can buy different types to do different things. Really, that is it. Different kind of rounds that you can use, common sense. Don't just, you know, be aware of when you're loading them into the breech. I know I'm not using gloves now and I don't have any eye protection on, which I probably should by just handling them, really. Just be aware that whenever these things go near these, right, which is the reason I'm not putting them in, that as you are loading these things, you're pulling this pin back under pressure while you put the firing pin in, with the blank round in the end. So if you make a mistake and you're holding this, and you make a mistake and that spring pulls back, that round is going to go off in your hand. Now, you're going to be burnt at the very least, if not worse, because basically the blank round has just gone off in your hand. On the whole, they're relatively stable to handle, but the minute they get near these things, put gloves on or just be aware of, you know, what you're doing, really. So let's go and do some demos. Right, so the first round is going to be a 209. So this is the smallest one that you saw. So the first thing we do is we prime.
Fan.
You can hear the fan switch on, the recoil's on,
Arm.
and we're now armed. So the next thing will be firing. So 3, 2, 1. And you can see there, so we disarm.
Disarmed.
You can see there a little bit of smoke coming out, and it was a reasonable bang. Right, so this is the next one. This is the 380. So let's just set the barrel in the right position. There we go. Right, we're going to arm.
Fan. Recoil. Armed.
And 3, 2, 1. And you can see there, very similar sound, but a little bit more smoke from that one. So this is the last round. This is the 12G. So again, we're going to arm.
Fan. Recoil. Armed.
Okay, the system is armed. 3, 2, 1. And you can see that is significant compared to the other two. There's a lot more smoke, a lot more of a bang. Looks much more realistic. And then it's really funny because when you look at the actual model afterwards, it looks like it's on fire, but it's obviously the amount of smoke that's generated, but it does look cool. Also, you can tell the difference in the base that's produced. That produces a pressure wave almost that comes off that one, whereas the other two don't. And as I said, the 209 at the beginning is almost like a cap gun, hence why might be better in a smaller environment. So there you have it. Quick demo of the 3 rounds on the 1/6 scale 155 SPGH Ditta. So one thing that's worth considering is when you're firing these blank rounds off, because you saw all 3 firing there. Obviously the 12G is amazing. What the cartridges look like at the end. You can see here, I'm going to show you first of all well, I was going to show you the 209, but I don't know where it is. It's just gone. It's not there anymore. The 380, or the .38, you can see it kind of opens up and the powder is gone. And then the 12G, it's quite impressive. It just blows itself apart. Now,
Hold on, it's not focused.
oh, there we go. Sorry, going to get the camera up there.
Yeah.
You can see
Yeah.
it's completely blown apart. Now, there is one thing to consider. Once these fire, they're very clean. When these fire, they're absolutely filthy. They smell, you can smell the sulfur. It smells like rotten eggs. And it's very, very dirty. Now, what that's going to mean, if I fire a lot of these 12Gs, the barrel, the breech, the firing mechanisms are all going to have to be regularly cleaned. Firing these, they're relatively clean, and the 209s don't make any mess at all. Worth considering, but you do get a big bang from that.